Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. 40 nations contributing to UN-Lebanon peacekeeping force condemn attacks. UNIFIL accuses Israeli military of deliberately firing on its positions. India's President Draupadi Murmu to embark on landmark visit to African nations, Algeria, Mauritania and Malawi on Sunday. And India beat Bangladesh by 133 runs in the third T20I cricket match in Hyderabad, completes 3-0 clean sweep. News in detail now. 40 nations that contribute to the UN peacekeeping force in Lebanon on Saturday said that they strongly condemn recent attacks on the peacekeepers. The Polish UN mission in a social media post said that such actions must stop immediately and should be adequately investigated. The joint statement was signed by nations including leading contributors India, Indonesia and Italy. Signatories include Ghana, Nepal, Malaysia, Spain, France and China, all countries that have contributed several hundred troops to the force. At least 5 peacekeepers have been wounded in recent days as Israel takes its fight against Hezbollah into southern Lebanon. The peacekeeping mission, UNIFIL, has accused the Israeli military of deliberately firing on its positions. According to the statement, the 40 contributing countries reaffirmed their full support for UNIFIL's mission and activities, whose principal aim is to bring stabilization and lasting peace in South Lebanon as well as in the Middle East. The countries urged the parties of conflict to respect UNIFIL's presence, which entails the obligation to guarantee the safety and security of its personnel at all times. UNIFIL, which involves about 9,500 troops of some 15 nationalities, is tasked with monitoring a ceasefire that ended a 33-day war in 2006 between Israel and Hezbollah. As West Asia remains on edge, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, in a call with Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, expressed deep concern about reports that Israeli forces had fired on UN peacekeeping positions in Lebanon in recent days and urged Israel to ensure safety for them and Lebanese military. Austin also reinforced the need to pivot from military operations in Lebanon to a diplomatic pathway as soon as feasible. Meanwhile, Israel ordered more evacuations and targeted a new location in northern Lebanon on Saturday. The Israeli military said Hezbollah had fired nearly 320 projectiles from Lebanon into Israel on Saturday. Israel's military ordered residents of 23 southern Lebanese villages to evacuate to areas north of the Awali River, which flows from the western Bekaa Valley into the Mediterranean. It declared areas around some towns in north Israel close to the public. The Israeli military said evacuations were necessary for the safety of residents due to increased Hezbollah activities, claiming the group is using sites to conceal weapons and launch attacks on Israel, while Hezbollah denied concealing weapons among civilians. Hundreds of Palestinians residing in northern Gaza were seen fleeing the north on Saturday. Israel has been pursuing an offensive in recent days, sending its troops into Jabalia, the largest of Gaza's 8 historic refugee camps, and the nearby towns of Beit Hanun and Beit Lahia. Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Kalibaf reaffirmed Iran's commitment to supporting Lebanon at a press conference held in Beirut on Saturday. Kalibaf also highlighted Iran's readiness to assist those displaced and affected by the ongoing conflict, contingent upon coordination with the Lebanese government. The press conference followed Kalibaf's visit to one of the sites of Israeli strikes that hit central Beirut, which killed 22 people and wounding over 100.
I am particularly carrying a message from Supreme Leader for the Lebanese people with assurances that in these difficult conditions, the Islamic Republic of Iran shall stand with the Lebanon's nation and government and the resistance in all areas.
And the families of Israeli hostages held by Hamas since October 7 gathered in Tel Aviv on Saturday night after Yom Kippur, the holiest day in Jewish calendar, drew to a close. Around 1,000 protesters demanded the government secure the release of their loved ones after nightfall. Yom Kippur is a day of atonement when Jews seek forgiveness by fasting and praying. The war began after a Hamas-led terrorist attack on October 7, 2023 on southern Israeli communities in which 1,200 people were killed and about 250 were taken hostage, 101 still remaining as hostages.
It's important every day. We are standing here every day. I mean, don't miss a single day, even if it's Yom Kippur. The hostages are still there. There's no break for them. It's not like it's holiday, so the conditions are different. Their situation is the same every day, and for us, the situation is the same. Every day we will fight until we get everyone back.
Many people in our government and our Prime Minister that there's many things that they need to ask for forgiveness about, and the number one thing is abandoning the hostages.
An Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdel Latouhi on Saturday met the delegation of Palestinian Fatah movement in Egypt's new administrative capital. The talks are the first since the two groups met in China in July and agreed steps to form a Palestinian unity government. They are also part of long-running and previously unsuccessful efforts to heal a schism that hardened when Hamas seized control of Gaza in a brief conflict with Fatah in 2007. The issue of the administration of the Gaza after the end of the year-old Israel-Hamas war is one of the thorniest issues facing the Palestinians. Saturday's meeting comes after the delegation met leaders from Islamist group Hamas to discuss plans for cooperation after the war in Gaza in a new round of talks in Cairo on Wednesday. Shifting focus now, US Vice President and Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris has said that her Republican rival Donald Trump is showing a lack of transparency by not releasing health records. Earlier, Harris released a letter from a doctor on Saturday that pronounced her in good health and fit for high office. The Harris campaign is eager to highlight the former president's age since he became the oldest candidate in the race. President Joe Biden stepped aside as the Democratic standard-bearer following a poor debate performance against Donald Trump.
So today I released my medical records, as has, I believe, every candidate for President of the United States except Donald Trump in this election cycle. And it's just a further example of his lack of transparency, that on top of his unwillingness to debate again, his unwillingness to do an interview with 60 Minutes, which again is part of the norm of what anyone running for President of the United States does. And I think that it's obvious that his team, at least, does not want the American people to see everything about who he is.
And US Vice President Kamala Harris returned to North Carolina on Saturday evening to help with hurricane relief efforts before campaigning in Greenville on Sunday. Harris arrived in Raleigh on Saturday evening and met with local black leaders. Then she joined the supply line at a local restaurant, helping pack boxes of supplies for overall victims of Hurricane Helene in western North Carolina. This marks Harris' second visit to the state following the hurricane. Last week, she visited the western region to assess the damage. Meanwhile, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump participated in a panel discussion aimed at Latino voters in Nevada on Saturday. The event, billed the Hispanic Roundtable, was hosted by Building America's Future, a conservative non-profit. Trump remarked that U.S. is run by very stupid and probably evil people. He also said that U.S. has the worst border in the history of the world.
He was overthrown. No excuse for this. We have the worst border in the history of the world. There's never been a border in the history of the world like this. If it was a third world country, they had no, because they had no border like this, because they'd fight them off with sticks and stones if they had to. This is the worst ever in the history of the world, because we're run by very stupid and probably evil people. and we can't have it. So thank you very much, Bob. I hope that's a positive message. Is that a positive message?
All right, updates from Russia-Ukraine conflict as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has claimed that Russian forces had tried to oust Ukrainian troops from positions in Russia's Kursk border region, but Kiev's forces were holding their lines. In a nightly video address on Saturday, Zelensky said that Russia tried to push back their positions, but Ukrainian troops held their designated lines. Earlier, Russia's defense ministry said on Friday that its forces had recaptured 2 villages in the border Kursk region, where Ukrainian troops launched a mass incursion in August. Ukraine has said its offensive is intended to create a buffer zone in the region to stop shelling of its border areas. Zelensky has acknowledged that the Ukrainian advance into Kursk was intended to draw Russian troops away from frontline positions in eastern Ukraine, where Russian forces have been making steady gains in recent months. Now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. In the Yihon region, hundreds of French protesters, including radical ecologists, rallied against a planned high-speed rail line. The controversial project would connect Toulouse to Paris by 2032. Demonstrators argue that it threatens the environment and local communities. Toulouse Les Orgues Festival features yoga sessions set to live organ music in neo-Gothic churches. This creative approach aims to repurpose church organs for non-religious activities. The festival hopes to blend heritage with modern wellness practices. Guayaquil, Ecuador is experiencing blackouts after the government extended daily power cuts to up to 10 hours. The electricity crisis, driven by Ecuador's worst drought in 6 decades, led to the resignation of Energy Minister Antonio Goncalves. Igbo Ora, Nigeria, celebrates its annual Twins Festival, highlighting the town's unique record of high twin births. Known as the Twins Capital of the World, the event attracts many visitors to honor this phenomena. The festival has become a key cultural celebration for the town. Alright, still to come on this edition of DD India Live. The world marks International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction. This year's theme focuses on empowering the next generation for a resilient future. And blockbuster game today in Women's T20 World Cup, India to take on Australia in a crucial encounter. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Britain's former Prime Minister Boris Johnson has hailed India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi as a change maker. Boris Johnson has revealed in his new memoir that he felt the Indian leader's curious astral energy the very first time he met him in London more than a decade ago. Devoting a full chapter on the India-UK relationship in his book, Johnson recalled significant meetings with PM Modi in New Delhi and London from his time as the Mayor of London to the UK Prime Minister. Recalling their first meeting in 2012, which took place by the River Thames, Johnson said that he felt PM Modi's curious astral energy as he held his arm and raised it in front of a crowd of Indian supporters. Johnson, who had 2 terms as London's mayor, then went on to describe the Indian PM as a change maker that India-UK relationship needs. A noted Indian-American journalist, Fareed Zakaria, has said that India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi can play a constructive role in brokering peace between Russia and Ukraine. Zakaria said, and I quote, "The war in Ukraine is frozen. There are very few parties who have the credibility to talk to both sides. If Prime Minister Modi were to propose some kind of situation where he acts as an intermediary, I think he could play a very constructive role." Zakaria told to India Today TV that this is his great opportunity to be a global statesman should he want it. I think he would have to get energetically involved and he would have to be willing to really be an honest broker. I think he has the platform, he has the potential and the diplomatic skills to do it, unquote. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu took to X to condole the death of industrialist and global icon Ratan Tata. Netanyahu said, and I quote, "To my friend Prime Minister Narendra Modi, I and many in Israel mourn the loss of Ratan Tata, a proud son of India and a champion of friendship between our two countries. Please convey my condolences to Ratan's family. In sympathy, Benjamin Netanyahu." Ratan Tata died on October 9 at Mumbai's Breach Candy Hospital, where he was admitted for a routine health check due to his age. India's President Draupadi Murmu will embark on a state visit to 3 African countries, namely Algeria, Mauritania and Malawi, from October 13 to 19th. This will be the first ever visit by an Indian head of state to the 3 African nations. President Murmu will visit Algeria from October 13 to October 15. She will address the India-Algeria Economic Forum at the Sidi Abdallah Science and Technology Pole University. President to inaugurate India Corner at Hama Garden at Jardin Desai.
At the invitation of President of People's Democratic Republic of Algeria, His Excellency Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, Honorable Rashtrapati Ji will be undertaking a state visit to Algeria from 13 to 15 October 2024. This will be the first ever visit by the President of India to Algeria and a visit at the level of head of state or head of government after 39 years.
On Sunday, October 13, the world marks International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction. This year's theme focuses on empowering the next generation for a resilient future. With disasters becoming more frequent, global cooperation and local strategies are crucial to reducing risk and building a safer, sustainable world for all. DD India correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya with more details.
A rapidly warming planet possesses an urgent threat to life on Earth. On October 13th, the world observes International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction, a reminder for nations to assess their vulnerabilities and build resilient strategies. This year, the focus is on empowering the next generation to ensure a safer, more resilient future. Disasters often transcend borders, demanding a global response.
The Sendai Framework,
adopted by the UN, provides a more comprehensive roadmap for reducing disaster risk.
Man-made and natural hazards.
In recent years, India has faced several natural calamities, from the Gujarat cyclone to the Kerala floods. But through advancement in science and technology, the country has significantly minimized their impact.
Disaster-resilient infrastructure saves lives and livelihoods and ensures continuity of critical infrastructure services like power, transport, health, and communications. CDRI is a coalition of 40 countries and 7 international organizations that have come together to advance the resilience of new and existing infrastructure. The coalition focuses on building capacity with knowledge sharing, building evidence with technical studies and resilience programs, and undertaking global advocacy for promoting disaster-resilient infrastructure.
India's launch of the Infrastructure for Resilient Island States at COP26 further strengthens its commitment to safeguarding vulnerable regions. India's Prime Minister laid out a 10-point agenda on disaster risk reduction, advocating for community preparedness, technological innovations, and global cooperations. As we move forward, empowering the next generation remains essential in creating a resilient future for all. With camera person Anand, this is Taposh Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
Now let's take a look at other stories making news today. Former Maharashtra Minister and Nationalist Congress Party leader Baba Siddiqui passed away on Saturday after being shot in Mumbai. He was fired upon by unidentified people. Mumbai police have apprehended 2 persons related to the incident. Siddiqui was a 3-time MLA from Bandra West. Restoration work was completed in Kavrapete railway station in Tamil Nadu after Mysore-Darbhanga Express rammed into a stationary goods train. Around 10 to 13 coaches were derailed. Several passengers were injured, but no casualties reported. In Chhattisgarh, special Bastar Dussehra is celebrated every year. It is organized in Bastar for 75 days. Devotees gather in large number to seek blessings from Mother Goddess for the prosperity of the state. Then the believers pull a huge wooden chariot, this tradition that has been going on for about 800 years. On to cricket now. An explosive batting display helped India thrash a hapless Bangladesh for a comfortable win in the third and final T20I to clean sweep the series 3-0 on Saturday. Batting first, a minute ride took India to a monstrous 297 for 6. This was the second highest innings total in T20Is behind Nepal's 314 for 3 against Mongolia last year. Sanju Samson hit his maiden T20I century, scoring 111 runs from 47 balls, while skipper Surya Kumar Yadav scored 75 of 35 deliveries. A heavily bruised Bangladesh stood no chance in the chase, going down by 133 runs. Earlier, India defeated the visitors 2-0 in the Test series. And Australia women will take on India women in match 18 of the ongoing Women's T20I World Cup 2024 at the Sharjah Cricket Stadium on Sunday. India team needs to register not only a win but also has to keep their net run rate in check, as New Zealand is the third team that is searching for a semi-final berth in the tournament. A blockbuster game is in store for all of us.
India will aim to secure another net run rate boosting win when they face an injury-hit Australia in a must-win Women's T20 World Cup clash on Sunday in Sharjah. Australia, with 6 points from 3 matches and a strong net run rate of plus 2.786, are almost assured of a semi-final spot. Meanwhile, India, New Zealand and Pakistan are battling for the remaining spot. Australia's victory over Pakistan on Friday came with a cost. Skipper Ali Saheli suffered an acute foot injury, while fast bowler Tyler Vlamnik dislocated her shoulder. Both are likely to miss crucial game on Sunday. India's 82-run win over Sri Lanka, their biggest in tournament history, not only boosted their net run rate but also lifted them to second place in Group A. India now sit on 4 points behind undefeated Australia. To keep their knockout hopes alive, India must win, as New Zealand, with 1 game in hand, can also reach 6 points. If New Zealand win their remaining games, net run rate will decide the semi-final spots. India currently has a plus 0.567 net run rate, while New Zealand lags behind at minus 0.050. If Pakistan beat New Zealand and India lose to Australia, all 3 teams could end up on 4 points, making net run rate crucial again. Sports Desk, DD India.
Tennis now. Novak Djokovic moved a step closer to his 100th ATP title on Saturday after dispatching American 7th seed in straight sets in the Shanghai Masters semi-finals. He will now go head-to-head against top-ranked Jannik Sinner for the title clash. Earlier on Saturday, Sinner secured the year-end world #1 ranking by beating Czech's 30th seed Thomas Makak and becoming the first Italian to reach the finals. Djokovic, the 24-time Grand Slam champion, will play his 5th final in the tournament history, looking to claim his 100th ATP title as well as his 5th Shanghai Masters crown. Alright, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.